Okay. Hi, zoology. Here's our next PowerPoint. It's over birds. And the really unique thing about birds is a couple of things. Number one, their class is different than their name. Like this class, the class that birds are in, are called the Aves class. So it's not called class birds like it was class, like class reptile, class amphibian. This is class Aves. So please make sure you write class Aves on your worksheet. Again, this video is to help you with the chart comparing reptiles to birds, okay? So birds are in the class Aves, and everything about birds, the reason why birds are birds, is to basically, everything about them that we're gonna look at is to help them fly. This is the most successful group of vertebrates that are fantastic at flying for the most part, and the reason why they can fly is because they have these feathers and they are endothermic. So this is our first animal that is endothermic, which means they can control their own body temperature. So that's what this first thing does. This is what we do. We just give you a nice little overview of the class. Everything about a bird is adapted for flight. Everything is. They have wings, feathers, they're endothermic. That we're going to talk a little bit about their vertebral column, and it's modified for flight. Really, everything about their body is. And also, they don't have any teeth, which is crazy. They just have a bill. But they can be very carnivorous, scary, very scary animals, honestly, even though they don't have teeth. All right, so gas exchange. The way they get oxygen to their body is through two mechanisms. Please write down on your chart, lungs and air sacs. In fact, they have the most efficient respiratory system of all vertebrates, mainly because this is what helps them fly. They have to get good oxygen into their body to enable them to fly, and they fly high up in the air too. Not a lot of oxygen there, so they are able to extract that oxygen. So they have lungs, but they also have these little air sacs. So really quickly, that's what you're going to write down on your chart. Lungs and air sacs, for sure. They have forward ones and rear ones. But what they have is, what's interesting, just like for your FYI, if they have a unidirectional flow of air through their lungs. That means the air moving through their lungs is always fresh and always have tons of oxygen in it. Unlike us and mammals, we have a bidirectional flow. So when we breathe air, we get fresh air, but then it's also mixed with old air. So our respiratory system is not as efficient as birds. So birds really do one up us on that. Again, a bird can breathe at much higher at a much higher height than mammals because of their lung structure. Elevation, there's the word I'm looking for. A much higher elevation than mammals because of their lung structure. Okay, again, their lung structure, they do have these little bronchial sacs, but the most important thing about it is they have lungs and they have air sacs. So because of their high metabolic rates associated with flight, birds have the greater amount of oxygen consumption than any other vertebrate on the planet. They always are pulling in fresh air, not a lot of stale air going on there. Okay, so lungs and air sacs, birds, that's how they get their oxygen. And that just kind of talks a little bit about why they can fly up high up into the sky. They also have this little special voice box. That's why you might hear birds chirping. If we had some more time, we'd really go into this because it's pretty interesting how they can vocalize and how they talk to each other. But let's move on to the heart. This is the first time where there is a vertebrate that every single bird in the class Aves have two atria, and then this is the first time you're going to write down in your chart two ventricles. They have a four-chambered heart. They have a complete septum. There is no mixing of blood, no mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, ever. No mixing of blood. So that's the other unique thing that you will write down in your chart. Okay. Their cervical vertebrae is probably the most unique in any other vertebrates because, look, they have the most cervical vertebrae of all vertebrates. Birds, depending on the species, can have anywhere from 35 to 25 cervical vertebrae. They have a lot of vertebrae in their neck. They have the atlas. They also have an axis. Actually, they can manipulate their head in various ways because of all these vertebrae. They also can grab stuff and preen themselves, like preen their feathers all over their body, like reach behind their back, which is something we cannot do with their mouth, to preen themselves. So they really do have the most. So what I would write down in my chart is they can have 13 to 25 cervical vertebrae, or you could just simply write down the most cervical vertebrae of any vertebrate for sure. Okay, again, probably helps them with flight. Okay, what they have on their external, what type of skin they have, are feathers. Feathers are developed very similar to scales of reptiles, but then again, a little bit different. But this ties, we really believe birds and reptiles are very much related evolutionarily speaking. But birds, unlike reptiles, do have feathers. They do have feathers. Now, the importance of this feathers also helps birds fly. We're not going to go into it in great detail this year, but all birds have these 3 types of feathers. Please do not write this down. This is just an FYI. The feathers that you see are their contour feathers. That's what you get to see. That's on their outer feathers. This is more, their plume is kind of for sensory purposes, and then their down feathers are for warmth. And birds either have all 3 of these throughout their lives at some point, always the contour. And then this just kind of talks a little bit about how they move. Birds, because they have a really big sternum and this little wishbone thing called a furcula, and because of the way their muscles attach to their sternum and this thing right here, this bone right here, it enables them for flight. And that's what they use. They use their wings to fly. This is how they move for the most part. There's a couple exceptions of birds that can't fly, but the majority of them can, and the majority of them, their bodies are set up for flight. Okay, this is one reason why they have a pretty large heart, and that they are endothermic. They are endothermic. They are endothermic, which means they can control their body temperature, mainly because they're bringing in so much oxygen into their body. So this is our first endothermic animal. They can control it from within. And this is really it. This is my last slide. Please go to my PowerPoint without me talking and check this out. It's a very quick little video. It talks about how a chick develops, and the reason why I want you to watch it is it goes over every single structure that we just talked about, and it shows you how all these structures come about from a baby chick. It's pretty interesting. Okay, please check out the video. Please fill out your chart. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you so much.